Hey, friends, thanks for being here with us today. We have a timely topic, and I'm excited to get into it and especially hear your perspective on it, Chris. But first, let me say hi. I'm Karen Wagner, the founder of Invigorate, lupus survivor for 15 years. And I'm here with my awesome co-host, Chris Burton, the baddest chaplain. Chris, extra special thanks for being here because you've been traveling for the holiday and on the road. So appreciate you squeezing us in.
Oh, no, it's all good. Always good to see you and be here and be able to chat with you on Invigorate. And obviously, talking about what we're going to talk about today is a topic near and dear to my heart. So I'm extra excited to have our conversation today.
You're focusing on gratitude and what we're thankful for comes up around the Thanksgiving holiday. But then I heard this hilarious statement how then the very next day we have the biggest retail shopping day of the year where
Right.
people literally stamp over each other to get more materialistic things a
Oh my
day
gosh.
after we were expressing gratitude for what we have. The
Right.
irony, the irony.
No, that really hits it on the head, and especially, I mean, there may be some of our listeners who are too young to remember what it feels like to like wait in line at the store to get like a 70-inch TV or whatever. But people would really, to your point, Karen, like fight each other over these goods after just going around the table and sharing what they're thankful for. Now they're really like poke someone's eyes out over like a discounted electronic at the local
Right.
department store. It's very ironic to your point.
That leads into an interesting part of expressing gratitude. So, obviously, it's once per year, but how do we extend that into the
Hmm.
rest of the year? And how do we make that a part of our everyday lives? And,
Yeah.
Chris, I get the sense that it's very much a part of your everyday life. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I really do try, to your point, try to make it a part of my everyday life. I think gratitude is essential, because I think it helps you, number one, remind yourself that your problems aren't the whole story, right? So when things go bad, we have a tendency to sort of make that your entire lens, right? Like you're late for work, or something didn't work out, or whatever the situation is. We start to catastrophize, and it just becomes nothing's going well. But if you get yourself into the practice of extending gratitude, you understand that even though the problem is serious and it's something that's worthy of your attention, it isn't the whole story. Gratitude helps us to just breeze past the things that we sort of take for granted, right? Like our relationships. It's easy if you see that person every day, or you're always talking to that person, to just take them for granted because you're like, well, I'll see you tomorrow. So it's not a big deal to see you. It doesn't feel the same as if, I'm seeing you for the first time in a long time. And it's easy to take these people who mean so much to us, who, our quality of life would be significantly reduced if they weren't around. It's easy to take them for granted. But if we allow ourselves the latitude to just slow down and say, okay, I am here. So it's not that while I'm talking to you, Karen, I'm thinking about who I have to talk to next, or who I didn't get a chance to talk to yesterday. I am just here. I'm present. That allows me to really appreciate this time and not just view this as just one of the many things I have going on. And I think that when we slow down and that we allow ourselves, even with a full schedule, to just be fully present, it opens up our ability to really be grateful for every single moment.
Yeah, we're constantly rushing to the next thing.
Oh, yeah.
And when we are jumping, it feels like it just creates anxiety and chaos because you're just focused on the next thing. But
Hmm.
to your point, if you can focus on this moment now, it allows you that space to actually think about this moment and the blessing of this moment. Because as we've said, it's not guaranteed.
No, no, right. And it's really important to not view things as like and I've said this in previous episodes, but it's really that perspective shift of I have to do this versus I get to do this, right? So thinking about it, for example, if someone's a parent and they have small kids and those kids are just like, I need this, I want this, da da da. Like I have this going on. It's a full schedule. You're following them to soccer practice and art classes and dance recitals and all kinds of things. It's very easy for that, rush to start to feel like I have to. I have to get them to school. I have to get them to a doctor's appointment. I have to get them to the dentist, all this stuff. But if you understand that a child's childhood is very short, it's extremely short. And that's part of their childhood where, they want you around and want you in all of their activities like mom, dad, like look at this, look at this. That's a short window. So rather than be like, oh, how many times do I have to see, a Daniel Tiger episode, or how many times do I have to watch this cartoon? Understand it, understand it as something like, wow, I get to, that like this is not something everyone in the world experiences. There's a lot of people who wish they could experience it but can't experience it. A lot of people who used to experience it who no longer experience it, and you won't experience this for the rest of your life. And so if you view it that way, it makes you really, frankly, see the sacred nature of that interaction, where your kid wants you to read a book that you've read to them 3,000 times before. They want you to read that book again. There's something very beautiful about that, and I think it doesn't always feel that way when we're in the midst of it. And you can, I just use parenthood as an example, but you can take whatever routine you have. There's so many things that we feel like we have to do, but it's really a opportunity, something that we get to do, that if we reframe it in that way, we can really deepen our sense of gratitude.
So it's more of a serving mentality. And with you saying, I get to, one thing that I've done is really gotten specific with my intentions. Like, where are my priorities? Where do I want to be spending my time?
Hmm.
And you could imagine, obviously, number one priority is family, my
Right,
kids,
right.
and making sure that they are developing and I'm fostering their development in a way that they can grow up to be hopefully wonderful human beings and give
Hmm.
back to society. And so, in my long window of saying, when in those moments when it feels more trying, when I remember my purpose of making sure that I'm doing everything I can to foster their development, it puts some positivity behind it and just thankfulness that I get to be able to be involved in their lives and do that for them.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, because it's such a beautiful thing, allowing yourself to just slow down. Like part of why a lot of the things feel like have to do's is because we just keep such crammed schedules, and we're just running and running. We don't take the time to just sit still and just breathe. And we wake up. I remember having this experience, Karen, where the first thing I did in the morning was I would get my work laptop and start working first thing in the morning. The sun wasn't even up yet. And I remember about the third day I did that, I was like, this is wrong. Like, there's something really wrong with my priorities right now. I need to like do a deep reassessment of like what's most important to me. And I think when you start your day with what's most important, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. So I really want to encourage everyone who's watching and listening to us to imagine what it would look like to start your day with gratitude, right? No matter how busy that day will be, no matter how hectic that day is, or whatever tough thing you have to do that day, what does it look like to start your day with gratitude? Because I promise you, if you have that frame of mind, it will reshape the way you approach the tasks and the things you get to do that day.
We're all guilty of at times picking up our phone as soon as the
Oh yeah,
alarm goes off.
yeah, yeah,
And they say when you look at that, you are just infiltrated with stuff. And
yeah.
so then that sets you up for chaos and anxiety the
No
rest of
question,
the day.
no
So
question.
when you intentionally take that time to express gratitude and think about what you're thankful for, it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up the looking at the phone first, because it's such a, and I'll use this word that will sound harsh, but is intentionally harsh. It's such an addiction that we have to break, right?
Yeah.
And when we start the day looking at the phone, whether you're looking at Instagram and now you're starting to compare yourself, or you're looking at Facebook and maybe you're getting angry at your old high school classmates, like off the wall view of the world, or whatever it is. Or you see some news that's very heartbreaking. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's so much suffering. Whatever it is, it's really hard to overcome that like jolt to the system and the ways in which it affects us on a like on a chemical level. It's like the ways you're reacting to the fear you have, the anxiety you have, the sort of like dopamine release of like, oh, this is great, but then it like fizzles out and like you're craving that sense of satisfaction we get from seeing, oh, I have 12 notifications, people really care about what I'm doing. Like all those things are not very healthy for us, and really can distract us from the sort of like slow, mindful practices that you and I have been talking about. That's like almost like a microwave versus an oven in that regard.
Exactly. So you mentioned dopamine, so that lights up our brain's reward system
Mm-hmm.
when we look anything positive, eat a candy bar, any sort of sugar, look at social media, see how many likes we got.
Yeah, yeah,
But I also learned that expressing gratitude
yes.
re- releases both dopamine, that reward chemical, and
Mm-hmm.
serotonin, which also that
Yeah.
makes us feel calm,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
So it's like you can get those chemicals in an unhealthy way, or
Right.
you can get them from practicing gratitude. And that's just a simple swap that may feel big at first, but once you start,
Right. You
it
get on your
gets you,
way.
right?
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that, and I like that because there's something about I use the addiction, but also use the word habit for this. And it's something about
Yeah.
building that habit of every day, instead of reaching for that phone, you're reaching for your journal, like you said, or just taking time to just really think and be present and consider what you're grateful for. I think those are things that really pay off in dividends in terms of allowing yourself to really be centered and be focused rather than just, tossing in the wind of everything else that's going on. You're sort of along for the ride when you're picking up your phone, but when you're picking up your journal, you're taking that time to just sort of be there. You're in the driver's seat, in a way that's far more constructive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And as you get more into it, what I'm starting to is the morning practice is important, but then also in the evening as well, because
Hmm.
your brain is digesting everything that happened, and we naturally just tend to go to the negative. It
Right.
goes back to ancestors' days, just trying to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you take that time to think about what you're thankful for, think about it, write it down, whatever, it reprograms your brain to remember those things, and then you're processing it through the night, and
Mhm.
so that it all just builds on each other.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, I love that. That sort of understanding what I often call, when I was a school teacher, I would talk about landing the plane. Like, how are we going to land the plane for today's class? And I like that idea, Karen, about really making sure you land the plane for the day, because so many people struggle with resting well at night. Like
Yeah.
they're not getting enough sleep, or what, even if they're laying down, they're still trying to work out whatever problem was during the day, like anxiety is running up the score right now. So just thinking about the ways that a practice like what you're talking about can really help to settle us in, so we can have a productive uh, night of sleep. And I want to encourage folks to think about rest as productive. Because a lot of folks view, I'm guilty of this too, where I don't view rest as always something that's like helpful, right? I feel like I was of that mindset that I had to work until it was done and not really pace myself in a way that's healthy, in a way that allows me to have enough energy for the next day. And I think if we really do view that sense of, I need to make sure I'm winding down this day well so that I give tomorrow enough of what it needs to be a great day, it is a really healthy practice too. So thank you for that reframing.
Yeah. I love the landing the plane
Oh
analogy.
yeah, oh yeah. My kids knew every time I said we're gonna land the plane. They're like, all right. Mr. Burns about to end class.
Do you have any intentional practices to help remind you to be thankful throughout your everyday, or is it just as you notice them now?
Yeah, I think for me, my sense of gratitude is deeply tied to spiritual and tied to faith and theology. So I think about it in terms of, for example, on my way to work, I see these beautiful trees that have I'm not now the leaves are almost all gone, but like during the peak foliage, just brilliant colors. I mean, shades of gold and yellow and orange and red, and I found them to be so arresting. I would take pictures of them, but I also would just feel myself by by just the beauty of the nature move to a deep sense of gratitude. Like I'm so glad I get a chance to enjoy this and thinking and it ties into like the journeys we've had. Fall unfortunately had been a time where I've had, flares and been a time where, my bones start to hurt or, just it feels most difficult. As a lupus warrior and just thinking about the little things of being able to take a walk and not be in pain or being able to breathe deeply and not feel like my breathing is labored or you know being able to like appreciate where I am and not thinking about what's this lab going to say or what was my next appointment for this. Just having the latitude to be present there in times that had been previously difficult just would move me to a deep sense of gratitude and a deep sense of appreciation because I know that this is not something worth taking for granted because I did not always have this.
With these diseases, it's easy to jump ahead because they're chronic.
Hmm.
You bring up an absolute critical point as far as having to stay present and being thankful for this moment because we don't know how we're going to be in the future. The good thing about going through some of those most painful times and painful flares
Yeah.
is you're like, oh, I'm thankful that I can go for a walk
Oh
today.
yeah, yeah.
So it gives you a new sense of appreciation for your body and being able to move and just living in everyday life.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah, it's even up to I want to say it was about a year ago now, or earlier this year at least, where I went back to my seminary has two campuses. So I went down to the Charlotte campus where I hadn't been since I was first diagnosed with lupus. And it was the little things of walking around and just seeing, what they had updated over the years. And my body, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Karen, but my body like remembered being sick there. Like I would see a flight of steps and I would like prepared myself to sort of like cope with the fact that these steps are going to be hard for me to advance. And just being able to walk up the stairs with no trouble, I was like, whoa, I've never walked up these stairs without trouble before. And it moved me to a deep sense of gratitude because there's so many things in our lives that we can take for granted. It's like, oh, it's just easy. But particularly for those of us in our community, we know what it's like to struggle opening a jar of peanut butter or something. Like we know how difficult it can be to say, oh, I need to walk across town or just stand up and washing the dishes, something that's just mundane. But I've really been moved as a result of being on this journey to just see how so many things that seem mundane and boring are really miraculous things. Like it's a beautiful thing that we get a chance to do all these things that are otherwise or potentially so difficult. And it's not just a given. Like, of course I can do this. No, there are people who cannot. So you should really appreciate the fact that you can.
The human body is impressive what we can do. And
Yeah,
when it's taken away from you or limited, you realize that very quickly.
no doubt about it.
So there's the physical, personal side, but to add on to that side and being thankful for others during those times of intense flares or recovering from surgery, you notice how much your family or whoever is in your life
Mhm.
actually is helping you during those times,
That's
during everyday life, whether you're laid up or not.
right.
It has given me a deeper sense of appreciation for, oh, they wash the dishes. That's really
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
It's so small, but
Mhm.
all those little things, doing it to help you and vice versa.
That's right.
So,
No, yeah, it should allow us because I don't know how well it's funny. My wife will thank me for stuff. Like let's say I picked up the boys from like practice and stuff. She's like, "Thank you for that." And I used to get, I'll confess, Karen, I used to get annoyed by it. I was like, "Why are you thanking me for this? This is what I'm supposed to do. Why are you thanking me like for taking out the garbage? I'm supposed to take out the garbage, you know?" And um, I would just kind of get into that space. But as you're saying it, you really got me thinking. It really is a beautiful thing to express gratitude to the folks you're in community with, you're doing life with, because you know what it's like when that person is alleviating some of the stress or some of the burdens that we all walk around with. If you're leading a busy career, it doesn't even have to be about like sickness, even though that's a point of reference that we all share, but it can be something where you have a full day with a ton of meetings and someone said, "Hey, I ordered lunch for you," or "Hey, like I brought you a snack," or "Here's some water or tea," whatever. Those little things of like, wow, this person's taking care of me, and to know that you're taking care of somebody else, it's really, in my estimation, what the core of community should be about. It's like we're all lifting each other up, so no one has to worry about lifting themselves up. So because we're also focused on each other, that no one falls through because we're all doing our part to lift each other up. That to me is a beautiful imagining of what community and what gratitude could look like if it's practice on a larger scale, you know?
yeah. I always say one community, one unit. I tell my boys we're one family because they
Yeah.
tend to be like, well, I picked up XYZ. He's not doing his job. Like,
Right, right, right.
like, nope, we don't keep score. We're one family. We're picking up to help all of us.
That is it. That is it.
But
Because
to your point, it is. We're all doing it to help each other. So
mhm.
get it out of you personally. It's
Right.
about the bigger picture and about the people we care about around
Totally.
us.
Totally. I laugh because it seems like kids are so good at keeping score in that way, right? It just feel like I've done the good thing 8 times. They only did 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you see what I did?
All right, let's take a pause and acknowledge how great I am. I picked up all the toys out of the living room. I am amazing. You
I
know?
wish I had that confidence.
Oh yeah, there's no confidence like the confidence of a child who did the task they're supposed to do every day. You know, can move mountains with that kind of confidence.
Yeah, yeah, right. If you can think about how to make it a part of your day and your
Hmm.
routine, then it's actually doable
Oh yeah.
versus one more thing.
Right. Because the temptation, to your point, you start to think like, man, I need to get up 2 a.m. to make sure I'm doing all the tasks I need to do first thing before I start anything else. How do I optimize all of this? But yeah, I think it should just become a part of your regular rhythms in a way that it doesn't feel, there's some tasks that have to be standalone, but I think there's a lot of ways that we can do tasks with a different kind of method and different kind of methodology. So, for example, thinking about my boys again and how teaching them to like share has also been an opportunity for me to teach them about like it's good to give cheerfully, right? So it's not like I see that you're hungry and I say here have half my sandwich, but it's about learning about what it looks like to do that in a way that doesn't make you feel small, that doesn't make you feel insignificant or embarrassed that you had to get half of my sandwich, but does it in a way that makes you feel like, oh wow, I appreciate you. Now I'm teaching myself to give cheerfully, but I also have given someone an opportunity to extend gratitude because they're like, wow, I really appreciate you sharing your sandwich, rather than teaching them shame or teaching them some sort of negative feeling because of the way I delivered it. So just really thinking about the ways in which our gratitude practices and our mindfulness practices can really affect other people. It's like extending the Wi-Fi of the sort of like healthy mindset. You know?
It's really incredible how just even a small act of kindness like that, when given cheerfully, I love that term. That's like just wonderful.
Oh, no doubt.
Um, but to your point, it's an interaction, it's an opportunity to create a connection,
Hmm.
however quick, however small. But those things, especially in such a negative environment with the news and, just
Yeah,
life, we're
right.
just inundated with stuff like that.
No doubt.
But those micro moments can change a person's day.
No question.
I've even noticed making appointments, doctor appointment, dentist
Right,
appointments,
right.
just saying, thanks for your help. The tone in
Oh yeah.
their response
Yeah.
versus just saying thank you or nothing at all
Right,
is
right.
just, oh, they just uplifted a little
Oh
bit.
yeah.
It's like just a small act of appreciation can just change someone's tune.
And it takes nothing from you, right? It didn't cost you a thing to just say, "Thank you so much. You've been so helpful." And I'll tell you this, Karen. I have shared your reaction, and it's also made me think, man, they do not hear this a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's just not something where I am the 20th person that day who said thank you so much. I might have been the second or the third person, maybe the first person. It doesn't feel like it's become contagious yet, you know?
Right. I think especially in those areas where sometimes we get this mindset of we're just expecting them to do whatever they need to
No doubt
do.
about it.
And so again, like pausing, being in the moment, like this person is working, they're probably overworked, especially if it's in a provider's
Oh,
office.
absolutely.
It, it- Making sure that you are taking the time, and then it makes me feel good too. So
Hmm.
it's just good all the way around.
It's a win-win. Everybody wins. No one loses. Yeah,
Yeah.
here for
It's
that.
so simple, and I think it can be really easy to be like, "Yeah, yeah," but it's the importance of it both on you individually and those around you can just make all the difference.
Yeah, truly agree. Truly agree. So how have you seen like the benefits of some of the practices that you've done so far? How has it sort of like affected you, not only in terms of like changing your outlook, but has it really helped you in terms of like like physical benefits or psychological benefits or like socially, this sort of like reorienting yourself in gratitude?
I think psychologically, I used to tend to just have a scarcity mindset
Yeah.
where I'm constantly just, there's more to do. I'm not keeping up,
Mm.
the whole rat race
Right,
thing.
right.
But enabling and keeping with a consistent practice of actually writing down what I'm thankful for
Hmm.
has, I think, one, reduced my stress.
Great.
Even the smallest of things are everything. And especially us in our environments, it's so easy to take all that for granted.
Hmm.
So starting a regular practice has really helped me seeing, well, I have everything that I need. Anything I'm doing is growing who I am as a
Right.
person. It's just changed my view on life in general and just really help ground me.
Hmm. Hmm. There you go. Yeah, because it's so funny you say that because it just goes back to that sort of like assumption in my opinion of like you talked about water. People will like argue about like I don't want tap water. It has to be bottled water. It has to be like mineral water. It has to be alkaline water. All this stuff, and we don't think about how for so many people the idea of indoor plumbing is a dream, right? The
Right.
idea of going into a home and being like, I want water, and I can choose if it's hot water or cold water or filtered water. These are not universal experiences. A lot of people still have to walk miles carrying water. We have a lot of people who still have to like pray for water. Like they're praying that it rains that day. There's so many parts of the world where this is not a shared reality. And I think we do ourselves a great disservice if we start to think like, oh, it's supposed to be this way. Because for a lot of people, you're living their dream world. You're living their fantasy. As much as you feel like you have all these problems, you're also living in someone's like utopia.
I think it's really important. We've talked about pay attention to what you're listening to, what you're
Hmm.
reading. Make sure you're staying curious about and learning about what's out there. I mean, we give the news a bad rap and whatnot, but
Right.
it's important to be aware of what is outside our very small, tiny world, because that in itself can open up your mind and appreciation for what you have and what you're doing in your situation.
Yeah, that is it. That is it. Yeah, and just stay curious in a way that's beneficial and helpful. I think part of the like ingratitude is just having such a limited source of information, right? Like I only kind of just see things, barely past my own nose. But if you're curious about things, you start to understand, like, whoa, I didn't realize, I didn't know. Like, and I think that can lend itself to a deep sense of gratitude. I think the lack of gratitude happens from this sort of like false assumption of like, well, this is what everyone experiences. Like everyone has X, and it's like, no, that's not true. It's not even kind of true.
I've been kind of true, right?
It's like I used to love the show. I don't know if you ever seen it called Arrested Development, and
Oh, heck yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
yes, world class show. And so I just think about the mom on the show and being like, well, I mean, how much could a banana cost? $20? It's just like just like having no sense of like how much ordinary things actually cost. You're like, what is it? $20 for a banana? It's like no, not even close.
Not right. Way off.
Way off. Could buy like all the store's bananas for $20.
But you
Yeah.
bring up a good point, like the ignorance. So just making sure that you are educating and continuously learning so you don't fall into that trap of just getting stuck in your own world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's we have so much to learn from each other, and we should not dismiss other groups of people. We shouldn't dismiss other ways of life outright because there's something to glean there if you have this sort of intellectual humility to do so. If you have the kind of sense of like, wow, I appreciate what's in front of me rather than just viewing whole experiences as worthless. Just like that's not a great way to be. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
You also mentioned the comparison mindset. Like, no, like we're all in this together. It's a community. Like, we need to be building and supporting each other versus comparing with each other. And, that just leads to a negative space of what you don't have.
right, right. No, I remember hearing a wise person tell me that comparison is the thief of joy. Right, so whatever you have, you might really like. I appreciate. I have like an iPhone 11, right? And it's fine. I have no desire to upgrade it anytime soon. It still does everything I need it to do. But imagine if all I did was just look at the person who had like the latest iPhone, like I think it's the 15 now, something like that. And I'm just like, oh man, but they have this titanium. Like, no, like just appreciate what you have, and don't view it as like, oh, I have to keep up with the Joneses. I have to continue just to upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. And you know, another expression of like, don't like buy things you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't even like. There's no point in it. There's no point in it. Just live your life and be grateful for the life you have, and continue to. I'm not telling anyone to settle, but I'm saying that your ambition shouldn't be born out of a sense of like spite or a sense of wanting to like prove to anyone else. It should be, can you be your best self? Like you like try to set your own personal record while understanding that you being your best self helps the entire community. Because if everyone's their best selves, the whole community benefits.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you bring up something funny with the iPhones or whatever
Right.
materialistic. thing it is,
Mm,
I think about what I've wrote down as far as what I'm actually thankful for. Not once have I ever, maybe I've been thankful for like my house and having
sure.
warm shelter,
Right.
but it's not like I am really pumped about this phone. Like I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
really happy about this phone. No,
Exactly.
it's always about the people and the
Yes.
experiences.
Yes. The people are what matters. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the goods, the property, and if you don't believe me, ask people who've lost all their material possessions, like people who survived the flood or a fire, right? Like, are they upset about this stuff? Yes, but are they glad no one got hurt? Even more so. Like
Right.
that's what really, really matters. So it's just keeping everything in perspective is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other tip I'll give about as you get into practicing gratitude,
Hmm.
I have, I have found the more specific you can be, and even just specific examples, it helps you build. So if I'm like, "Oh, I'm thankful for my husband Dave." It's like, "Great." Well, you can only like write that for 3 days and
Right.
then you got to get more creative. And
Yeah.
I found when I've said I'm thankful for him doing whatever it is,
Right. Right. Right.
then it just sparks into the other things and
Hmm.
it it just rolls and comes easily and flows.
Yeah.
And so just starting off with one small example can open the floodgates of
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, because and that's it. Like for anyone who's listening to this and they feel like very overwhelmed by what we're like asking them to do, just start small. And if you do this and you're like, oh man, I started my day kind of rushed or overslept or something, so I didn't get a chance to do it today. Pick it up the next day. Pick it up whenever you remember. Like there's no pressure for you to be perfect in this. Just understand that if you take it seriously, you'll be like automatic with this habit, and just really understanding that you're gonna be clumsy, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay. But as long as you're learning from those mistakes and you have a desire to improve, you'll set everything correctly.
That sums up invigorate the whole.
Hmm.
It's like start small. It's gonna be clumsy. It's gonna
Right.
be awkward at times,
Right.
but you'll start to get your footing and then you'll kind of pick up some consistency
No doubt.
and it'll grow. But
Yeah.
whether it's gratitude or an exercise or cutting out sugar, whatever
Mhm.
it can't be an all or nothing. Start small and build from there, and you're gonna mess up, so be it, and
Yeah.
keep going.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. That's critical. No, and just especially doing this, and that's one of the things I appreciate about Invigorate. It gives people a community of practitioners, of folks who are trying to do right. You're trying to do their best, and once you see that other folks, maybe even folks you admire, look up to, are clumsy too, it's like a relief, So I think just making sure that you're not isolating yourself in this uh, habit forming, but really trying to be a community of habit formers is helpful.
When you're just starting out, think of it as a learning experience. Chris, you were a teacher. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
we're all students, and especially as we're leaning into something, you guys should see me do yoga. It's not a pretty picture by any.
It's got to be better than me doing yoga. I promise you that.
It's better than I was a couple years ago. Whatever, you get better, it
Of
doesn't
course,
matter.
of
You
course.
just gotta lean into it and laugh at yourself about it. I mean, jeez,
Right. Don't take yourself too seriously.
right?
Hmm.
We are not the star of the show, right,
No,
Chris?
no, 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 no. We are not. That's the truth.
That's my favorite. And that I think sums up this whole episode with practicing gratitude. It's all about serving others and being thankful for what we have.
That's it. That's really it. That's really it. So, with that in mind, I am thankful for you. I'm thankful for the wonderful work Invigorate does. I'm thankful for all of the episodes we've recorded this season so far. Like I know they've been helpful for me, and I just hope that they've been helpful for other people as well. I just feel so glad that we're able to have these conversations that, you I know when I started this journey in life as a lupus warrior, I would have really benefited from. So I am thankful that we get a chance to help somebody else. You know,
I so appreciate you saying that, because when I was just starting out, it can be overwhelming.
no question. Right, right.
But having resources and a podcast with you and I talking about like just day-to-day life, it would have helped me tremendously. I don't know if I would have listened totally,
And that's fair too. That's fair too.
but I could have benefited from it for
It would have
sure.
helped, but you had to listen to it. That's true. That's fair. That's really fair.
So I always encourage people to be open-minded, because even
Yeah.
if something doesn't seem to sit well, it might later down the
Hmm.
road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Give it a chance.
yeah. So, Chris, I appreciate you, and especially this week. I know you're on the road and traveling, but you always carve out time to do this, and I just so appreciate our discussions and your perspective. So, thank you.
Oh no, it's no worries. It's truly a joy, and like I said, I'm just I consider this one of the I get tos. You know what I mean? This is something that we get to do, and it's pretty awesome.
For sure. And I'm thankful for all of our community, and each and every one of you has engaged with me or invigorate in some way,
Hmm.
shape, or fashion. Please drop us a note, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear about. We're happy to dive into anything that's on your mind. So thank you, take care, and we will talk soon. Peace out.
Peace, everyone.